Good evening and welcome to another episode of AusTableTalk. My name's Luke. I am at the table with Shannon and Steve. Good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
And for the first time ever, I mean, this is for the benefit of those who can't see us, but if you're on YouTube, you'll already know. We have headphones.
Yay.
Yay, we can hear ourselves in live time.
Well, you can hear us speaking goodness.
Yeah. Well, actually, the whole what are you on about? The whole purpose that we have these is actually for you guys. So we have had feedback from our audience that we often get distracted and fall off mic. And so to fix that, the right answer is to get some headphones. And so we're all wearing monitors now. So we should theoretically know when we are not on mic and you can't hear us. So isn't that right, boys?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the unintended side effects is that we've just been, I don't know what it's done exactly, but we've just been playing with how things sound ever since we said it. Yeah, making random noises, scratching the mics, making weird voices, all kinds of stuff. So I can't predict what sort of an experience you guys are going to have in this episode, but
Your experience may vary.
yeah. And if you have a complaint, we're sorry, but we can't help you. So, as we get into the episode, well, before we get into the episode, I should say, customarily we share some reels and feels, and we have just a couple that I had to share. Mostly because these guys didn't share anything, so they're gonna up. You gotta up your game.
I don't do reels, man.
Yeah, I know, but if you just said, you know what, I'm gonna spend like 5 minutes this week.
I'll bring a half-hour video that we can we'll all learn something.
That's fine. I don't care what it is. It can be anything, but not half an hour, okay?
Yeah.
So this is a screenshot. I don't use Threads very often, but in Instagram, it keeps showing me people's threads, and I saw this one, and I followed the trail of breadcrumbs, so to speak, and I thought this was a really insightful statement. It is regarding America, but I think it is equally true here. So in a podcast interview, Brian Zahnd, I want to say, laid out the ways that America is its own religion and how the challenge for many Christian pastors is making disciples of the way of Jesus in society. So in a society of people already discipled in the way of a rival religion. So accurate, it's all I've thought about for a week. And then he followed that up with a statement saying, I grew up with not of this world stickers on everything, and now it seems when many Christians talk about their faith, it's really just political, cultural beliefs.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I know. I thought it was a pretty insightful pack of ideas, to be honest.
And it's interesting how much it impacts like the politics. Because I saw believe it or not, it was a reel actually. Believe it or not.
Oh really?
Yeah,
So you do watch reels?
No, I don't. But Facebook was like, "Hello." Anyway, it was like a Christian pastor over in the States answering questions, and they're like,
So glad it's a Christian pastor.
"How can you support? Why?
Do you have many atheist ones?
Well, there could be another. Anyway, whatever."
Sorry, man. Go on.
The people were like, "Oh, how dare you support Trump?" This must be a bit older too. It's like, because like he doesn't uphold Christian values. He's like, well, are you a Christian? And he's like, oh no. It's like, well, what standard do you? But it's just interesting that like it's so intertwined. Like it's part of their identity because it's how they were formed. But then, like, I see what he means though.
Yeah. I know. I feel like the whole thing is it's really unnecessary.
Nationalism.
Yes. Yeah. But I think it's so unnecessarily complicated, and I think this is why the Bible talks out so much against the mixing of church and state, right? Because when we see that, it gets messy, like really messy, and like I'm sort of checking myself, like I'm not the guy that is sitting around going, oh, Trump is the savior of the world, nor am I the guy that's sitting around going, Trump is a terrible thing. Like I mean, there's a bunch of stuff he's done that I disagree with, absolutely. But the thing that I find interesting is that when people make it a spiritual imperative, right? Like you believe this, or this is your beliefs, and therefore your politics must be this.
Yeah. I think that's what I was trying to articulate with the question.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I have some other really complicated thoughts on that, actually. But I feel like I could go there, but if I go there, that's the rest of this episode gone. So I'm going to hold on to that. Okay, so the other one that I have to share here, this is actually somewhat in response to a reel that we posted, actually a TikTok that we posted. So each week, a lot of our content gets cut up and goes out on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on TikTok. And on TikTok, we seem to get a lot of commenters. And, we love you guys. If any of you are listening, you're legends. But one clip that went out in particular drew a lot of fire, a lot of people disagreeing, and it was I feel like I should play it now.
To make sure that we cut this so that it can be like go on a TikTok so that TikTok can see. Like,
sorry, so this
like
gets
it's a
posted out,
follow-up.
so it's a
Yeah,
follow-up. Yeah, that's right. So and in it was a clip of me, and I was making a statement saying that I believe that if you are only following Jesus to escape hell or to get to heaven, then you're probably doing it for the wrong reasons. That, the ideal reason is that you do it because you love Jesus, right? That you have that relationship, and it's not about, I get a reward, or I really don't want to get punished. Those they are, incidental things. They're not the thing, right? I didn't qualify. That was it. That was just what I said out there. To add qualification to that statement, I think that you can come to Jesus for any reason. Right? I don't think Jesus cares whether you come for the right reasons or the wrong reasons. But if you come to him, then you're in proximity to him, and he can do something about those wrong reasons. Right? So that I feel that very strongly, and that was something that I had to reply in so many replies because there were so many people replying to comment after comment, like, no, this is what I meant. 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 Some people were like, oh, good, we're on the same page. Other people were like, no, you're still wrong for these reasons. I'm like, okay, sure, cool story. But this particular reel that I'm sharing now, I think, is a far more eloquent articulation. I want to, give thanks to Ty Gibson for articulating it so well. So I just thought I'd share this.
Process of cultivating in you and in me an emancipation from authority-based, power-based, servant-master orientation in our relationship with him. You're God, I'm not. I better do what you say because I want to go to heaven. I don't want to go to hell. God is trying to liberate us from all fear. Now, God is so large-hearted and he is so deeply in love with us that, listen, he will accept you and me on any terms. You can come to him with any motive, no matter how deeply self-serving that motive is. You can come to God out of fear of hell. You can come to God out of desire for heaven. And he will accept you and me with our fear and with our mercenary motives. Say, yeah, that's fine. Come. I'll accept you on any terms. And then immediately he goes about the process of liberating us from the fear of punishment and the hope of reward.
What do you think about that?
I don't know. I think when it says he accepts us on any terms, I kind of agree with, but also it kind of sits a bit wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously he doesn't. There's it is conditional to an extent. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's conditional for sure. But no, let me rephrase that. Salvation is conditional upon our acceptance, not his.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like I'm trying to think of an analogy that won't just not make sense at all. But if we come to God and I want to keep all of this stuff, but I want you to save me, he can say, well, that's cool and you're welcome, but I can't.
Mm-hmm.
I think go Shaz.
I think what Ty Gibson was saying is if you've come to Christ for whatever reason, then a process has to be made after that for anyone.
Yeah. I'm not saying you come to Jesus and you're saved straight up. As in you're saved.
You gotta rephrase that.
You're saved, but you're not
perfected
at that point. 100% agree with that. But I feel like you can't come with any motives and be like, I feel like it's once saved, always saved kind of thing. I'm saved now, I can do whatever I want. But I want to keep all these are my conditions.
Mm-hmm.
But being in proximity to Jesus will change that. So I do see that, but also it just sits a little bit
Mm-hmm.
Is that because we see the end picture as well, and then bringing that towards the current space people are coming to Christ at? Because we see the end picture where it's we are like those who keep his commandments in Revelation and have the faith of Jesus. There's that requirement in Revelation to those who enter the kingdom of heaven. Are we seeing that a little bit? And then, is that kind of where you're coming from? Maybe, I don't know. I'm just trying to understand.
So are you? So just so I clarify and understand your question, are you saying that potentially Steve is pulling the requirements of like the end state into the present? Like, it's like this is where we will be if we follow God eventually, but it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to look that way when we come to Him.
Yeah.
And
I'm just asking from if that's how you thinking about your own.
Yeah, I don't know. If we think about the prodigal son, like he wasn't saved when he had his father's money and left the door, or like walked out. He was always welcome in his father's house, but he wasn't saved when he, took his father's blessings and gifts and went and did what he wanted with them. Like he's not saved at that point. So he's still the son of the father, but he's not in the house until he comes back and says, I can't do it my way. So I feel like we can't be like, we can come to Jesus still struggling doing it our way and saying, I need to do it your way, but we can't come to Jesus and say, you're going to do it my way.
Yeah.
I think that's where I'm
I think that's fair. I think like with any preacher, you have to look at the objective of what he's saying. I
get what he's saying.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're not doing this. I'm just saying, I think we all agree. We get the gist. So. Yeah, cool. So anyway, they were just the two things that I had on my list. So
very nice.
Right. Now the topic for tonight. This is coming just straight out of my reading, my devotions this week, and I was just enjoying it. And there were some things in there that I found meaningful to me at the place in life that I am right now. And I thought, hey, this would be just fun for us to have. Kind of like, I don't know if you guys remember, or you would, Steve, but I don't know if you were here when we were doing it, Shannon. We used to have what we called no agenda episodes, where we would just have a text and we would.
I was actually going to suggest
Great minds think alike. So essentially we're going back to that format. This is a no agenda episode. We have a text. We're going to explore it together. We're going to look for how do we, what do we observe in the text? How do we interpret the text? And how do we apply it? So the text is in Exodus. So looking at the end of Exodus chapter 15, and we'll go into 16 as well. But maybe let's kick off in Exodus 15, verse 22. And I don't know, one of you guys want to read like 22 to 27? Start there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go for it.
So Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea. Then they went out into the wilderness of Shur, and they went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. Now, when they came to Marah, they could not drink the water of Marah, for they were bitter. Therefore the name of it was called Marah. And the people complained against Moses, saying, What shall we drink? So he cried out to the Lord, and the Lord showed him a tree. When he cast it into the waters were made sweet. There he made a statue and an ordinance for them, and there he tested them, and said, If you diligently heed the voice of the Lord your God, and do what is right in his sight, give ear to his commandments and keep all his statutes, I will put none of the diseases on you which I have brought on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you. Then they came to Elim, where there were 12 wells of water and 70 palm trees. So they camped there by the waters.
Awesome. Thank you. So the context of this passage, this is fairly well immediately after the Red Sea crossing. So Moses has gone back to Egypt. The plagues have happened. Egypt has been broken down to its knees in the process. They are released. They travel. The Egyptians decide that they've made a mistake and come after them. They chase them. They go. God opens up the pathway through the waters. They escape across the sea or through the sea, and then the water closes in and destroys the Egyptian army behind them. Okay, so they do that. They get off the other side. There's the Song of Moses we have there, and then the next thing that gets and the Song of Miriam, and then the next thing that happens is that, so as we read there at the beginning of that, so Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea, and they went into the wilderness of Shur, and they went 3 days. So they go 3 days into the wilderness. I know that they had livestock and all the rest of it, but I don't imagine that you could carry a lot of water. You know, as if you're nomadic, it's something that you have to find on the way. And so they've traveled 3 days, and let's imagine that they had some water, but by this point they're thirsty, right? Like, and their children are thirsty, and then they're not in a good place. So as we sort of come up to this point in the story, do you feel like it's reasonable for the Israelites to be feeling a bit whingy about this at this point? Does this feel reasonable to you? And if not, why?
I don't know. I feel like if obviously looking back in context, like, oh, it's so close to the Red Sea being parted, but also 3 days without water, you kind of like, yeah, maybe you wouldn't be complaining, but you might be like, hey, Moses, what's up, dude?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd be getting nervous.
Yeah, because in my brain, you'd almost think, okay, God's always going to be with us now.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to never have the hardship sort of thing. Like, we've
Yeah.
come from hardships, and he's escaped us from that. Especially, like, after what they've sung previously, just exiting the Red Sea.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this, like, oh, we're not finding water. Are we going to survive? And then the water they come across isn't great to drink.
Yeah. I know. Can you imagine? Like, they're walking, they see this water, and they're like, "Oh, thank you, God, amazing." Oh, yeah, we can't drink this. And I think, you know, when something that you think is a win, you think is the good stuff, and it's not, that can be, yeah, that can tank your enthusiasm, right? Like, it's very easy to lose heart in that kind of a situation. So they're complaining to Moses, you know, what shall we drink? So he cried out to the Lord, and the Lord showed him a tree. When he cast it into the waters were made sweet. There he made a statute and an ordinance for them, and there he tested them. So God is like, no, it's okay. You know, here is what you do. You take this and throw it in there. Why do you think it was like this? Like, I mean, God could have just made sure that the water there was clean. Why go through the extra step of, you know, deflating their hopes and then only to raise them up again?
An act to rely on God. Because there's also the chance of them going, hey, we don't have to worry about anything now because God's got us, sort of thing. So there could be that point where it's like, oh, don't even have to think about it. Let's walk, sort of thing. There could be that, hey, remember me. Like, I'm the one who does these things for you.
It almost sounds like Moses is a little bit not desperate, but like he's crying. He's not inquiring of the Lord. Like, he cried out, like, help. So I don't know. And obviously that was the right response, or just God had sympathy on them. I also forgot that they literally had a cloud leading them and fire. Like, I don't know.
And fire at night.
Yeah. I mean, it would be hard because like, oh, I'm thirsty. I'm really thirsty. But it's like, there's like a physical manifestation all the time. So it'd be kind of hard to doubt as well, especially if, like, I don't know. Yeah.
I think what you're describing is an enormous amount of internal conflict.
Yes.
It's like, it's just constantly, oh, I trust God. Look what he just did for me. I am also about to die.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think when I was reading this, I was thinking about, you know, bringing this into my life, my experience. Like, how do I apply this? And I have the ability to be patient, but I usually have to be fairly conscious, right? Like, it's not necessarily natural to me. It's like I think about it. And when you get really weren't, ground down. And, yeah, like I've certainly had a lot of that experience just, of myself over the last couple of months, been really, ground down in my experience. And so sometimes it feels like, every time I get anywhere close to water, I find out the water's bitter. And so when I was reading this, I was like, I'm with the children of Israel right here. Like I'm with you guys. Like I'd be absolutely talking to Moses about this. And when I read that, I found comfort in this passage, because it was like, yeah, you know what? I actually don't know, in my own experience, I don't know what the tree is that God has got, arranged for me that I'm supposed to throw in the water. Unclear to me right now. But just like for them, I'm sure they didn't know that tree was the solution to the problems, but it was still there nonetheless. God was still looking out for them, and I think like you were saying, that need for reliance is so important. And yeah, I think that's the message of this story. I also don't want to read too far into it, because it does say that the people complained against Moses, saying, "What shall we drink?" So he cried out to the Lord. It doesn't necessarily, God doesn't correct them harshly for that in this story. He just solves their problem. And so I think God is merciful. Yes, there are consequences for their murmuring later. Yeah, absolutely. But that's after they've already seen.
Well, they have water consistently. They have food consistently. So it's
Right.
like, guys, just shut up and
Yes.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Stop whinging.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because the point of the story is kind of verse 26. It says, if you diligently heed the voice of the Lord your God and do what is right in his sight and keep all the commandments and keep his statutes, I'll put none of the diseases on you which I brought onto the Egyptians. But it's kind of like, what did God say to them? Like, what commandments has he given them?
Hey, yeah, that's true.
Like, at this point, it's literally like, like all God says is, bit of water, here's a tree, throw it in the water. The water's fixed. And he's like, all right, now I'm going to tell you to do some things and there'll be good outcomes. And if you do them, it will be good. And if you don't do them, it will be bad. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I think it's just like building up, and it's like building rapport. It's like,
He's prepping them for Sinai, you think?
yeah, I think that, and just in general, like this is just like the first, like he's done the big act, he's done the big engagement proposal with the plagues, and now he's, married them by taking them through the Red Sea. And I was kind of like, all right, yeah, now I'm going to I'm going to bring home, the money every week, and I'm going to, do my fair share of the chores. Like, it's, it's to run with that analogy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we're going deep on that analogy right now.
As you're right. But like, I don't know, just like he's just building his rapport as a god to them, saying, he's like, I know you guys are stressing, but it's all right.
And I know I think every time we talk about this story, I say this, but I do that for a reason, because I think it's probably one of the central themes to make this whole passage of scripture make sense. And that is, God had liberated them from Egypt. They had got out of Egypt, but Egypt was not yet out of them. And I think that we need to read like all of Exodus with that viewpoint, because when we see the way they're relating to God, they were used to slave masters. They got slave masters. They understand how to relate to a slave master. And here God is, well, I'm going to relate to you as a father, and I'm going to give you laws that are helpful to you, and I'm going to look after you. I'm going to look after your needs. They have got all of this trauma around being, mistreated. And so the second that something doesn't look like it's going their direction, they're like, oh, God's forsaken us. And so they start whinging about everything, right?
I was just thinking, I wonder, because, mate, I don't know, because it's just what my brain is thinking at the moment. Like, would they have only gotten something if they cried out about it in Egypt? Because it kind of seems like, and it was just piecing together in my brain, anytime something went wrong or they didn't have something, they would complain. So it seems like a natural fallback or whatever for them. But
sometimes my kids, when something is not going their way, they will snap to like yelling at me like, oh, this is not working. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
You're banned.
yeah, I'm like, really? Like that's where we're starting this interaction, right? Like, are you serious right now? Usually I'll be like, okay, just think again about how you might want to ask that in a way that you might actually get it. And they're like, Daddy, this fell apart. Could you please put it back together? Okay, sure. Like, let's do this, right? And I think there's an element of that, right? They have this slave response. Oh, no, this is going really bad. No, this is a bad thing. Whereas what God really wants is, no, I want this to be like a father-child kind of scenario where it's, Lord, thank you for saving us. You're so merciful to us. We're in need. What is your plan? Like that would have been a very different way to relate to God. Probably would have resulted in water still, right?
Yeah.
And I think, I think that's probably the message there. It's not that we shouldn't ask. The message is that what's the posture that we're bringing to God when we do that.
Yeah, it's like, Lord, I believe, help.
I was going to say, that's the second time you'd kick that over now.
It's like, Lord, I believe, but help my unbelief.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I also think it's interesting. I'm happy to move on now, but verse 26, if you diligently heed the voice of the Lord your God and do what is right in His sight, give ear to His commands, and keep all His statutes, I will put none of the diseases which I have brought on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you. The interesting thing is, yes, you pointed out correctly that He hasn't really given them much in the way of laws yet, but He's about to. And the laws that He gives, so many of them are laws for health purposes, right? And so, the Egyptians, they didn't have the benefit of those laws. So I think, yes, there is a supernatural element to it, but also God just knows how the human body operates. And so He wants to put it under the best possible circumstances. Right?
It's the law of nature.
Law of nature. So anyway, this story then continues on, and chapter 16 starts with the story about the manna. It says, and they journeyed from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel, which came to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, for on the 15th day of the second month after they departed from the land of Egypt. The whole congregation of the children of Israel complained against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. Here's the pattern again. And the children of Israel said to them, "Oh, that we had died by the hand of the Lord in Egypt." See, now their complaints are getting more complex.
Yeah.
Oh, that we died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when they sat by the pots of meat, and where they had bread, we had bread to the full. For you have brought us into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain quota every day, that I might test them, whether they will walk in my law or not. And it shall be on the 6th day that they shall prepare what they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily." Then Moses and Aaron said to all the children of Israel, "At evening you will know that the Lord has brought you out of the land of Egypt. In the morning you shall see the glory of the Lord, for He hears your complaints against the Lord. But what are we that you complain against us?" Also Moses said, This shall be seen when the Lord gives you meat to eat in the evening, and in the morning bread to the full. For the Lord hears your complaints which you make against Him. And what are we? Your complaints. Sorry, I'm losing my place over here. Your complaints which you make against Him. And what are we? Your complaints are not against us, but against the Lord. There you go. And Moses spoke to Aaron, saying, "Say to all the congregation of the children of Israel, come near before the Lord, and He has heard your complaints." So now it came to pass, as Aaron spoke to the whole congregation of Israel, that they looked toward the wilderness, and behold, the glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, If I have heard the complaints of the children of Israel, speak to them, saying, At twilight you shall eat meat, and in the morning you shall be filled with bread, and you shall know that I am the Lord your God. So it was that quails came up in the evening and covered the camp. In the morning in the morning the dew lay all around the camp. And when the layer of dew lifted, there on the surface of the wilderness was a small round substance, fine as frost on the ground. So when the children of Israel saw it, they said to one another, What is it? For they did not know what it was. And Moses said to them, This is the bread the Lord has given you to eat. This is the thing which the Lord has commanded, that let every man gather it according to each one's need. And so it goes on giving the specifics there, but basically same thing that God said to Moses, right? Collect enough for the day, but no more, because if you keep it, it's gonna go rotten, disgusting. And on Friday, collect double, so it'll do you for Sabbath.
Mm.
So, based on what we have already seen, the pattern, like what elements of this pattern are repeating?
More complaining, more provision.
Hmm.
It's interesting that he gives them the meat, though.
Mm.
Like, as in he gives more than what they ask for. So, and again, it's like, we already talked about the prodigal. Is it the prodigal son?
Yeah, prodigal son.
Oh man, my brain.
Yeah.
Um,
I think we're all operating a bit subpar after that meal.
Yeah. Like the son should not have gotten his inheritance until the father passed away. Like, it's just rude. But because the father loved him, he gave him what he like, even though it wasn't good for him, he's like, okay, well, if that's what you really want, I'm not going to stop you. Like, I'm not, like, this isn't a relationship of force. Here you go. Like, it's your decision. And I think it's the same here. They're like railing against God, like, you're not providing for us. He's like, all right. He's like, all right, here you go. Yeah. And I don't think it's this story. I was half looking at another verse. Is this the one where they got sick eating, or is that later? I think that's later, isn't it?
I think if they keep it longer than...
No, not the manna. I think
the quail.
There's one time where they like gorged themselves and a whole bunch of them got sick, and I think some of them died. Unless, I don't know, I'll have to Google it.
Yeah, I'm just reading through the story here.
I don't think it's this time.
Yeah, it happens again, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I'll quick Google, because my memories, my knowledge, I should say, is not that good.
There's a number of things in particularly in Exodus that happen a little bit different to how you remember, and I think a lot of that is because of movies like the Ten Commandments, where they sort of like condense timelines and stuff, and you're like, yeah, that's how it happened, and then you go read it, you're like, no, actually, that's not how it happened.
Yeah, no, it's Numbers 11.
Okay, Numbers 11 when that happens again.
So they gorge themselves and then they catch plague.
Interesting. So yes, I think one of the other interesting things about this particular passage is that it sets up Sabbath, and this is before Exodus 20. So he hasn't given them the command to remember the Sabbath yet.
Yeah.
So this is implying that there is some latent knowledge of the Sabbath from their previous times, but perhaps it was not in as common practice anymore, maybe. I don't know. But it certainly seems to be God is prepping that and making it clear in preparation for chapter 20 coming up.
Yeah, it's definitely building to that. But it's rest without the law, which I think is interesting. Like, it's like, obviously, there's consequences for breaking the law, but at this point, the consequence is your bread goes bad. Yeah. Or the consequence is you go hungry because you didn't trust that there wouldn't be food, I should say.
Yeah.
Because we haven't gotten to stoning for picking up sticks yet.
Yeah.
But I think it's cool that, they're complaining for provision, and God's provided twice now, and he's gone over and above. Like, not only has he given them the manna, which they now receive for the next, 40 plus years, but he gives them the quail to top it off because they want meat. And then in that, he gives them the rest as well.
Yeah. And you mentioned that this happens for the next 40 years. Isn't that crazy in and of itself?
That becomes the complaint, though.
Yes.
We're sick of it.
Yeah, we're sick of it now. I mean, just the thought that God, gave them something supernatural to sustain them for that amount of time. Like, this would have fundamentally shifted the expectations. You think about the children that grew up in that time, the ones that actually then went into the promised land. They grew up. Imagine being 30. I'm 37, right? If I was born just as the Exodus was kicking off, I would currently still be in the wilderness, and I would have never known a time where God wasn't doing a miracle on the daily.
Yeah,
that's crazy. So yeah, I just think that that's an interesting observation there. But the other thing is, what did they do with the manna? What's the last thing that is ever recorded to have been done with manna?
Oh, I don't actually know. I know they put some in the ark.
Yeah, that's the last thing they did.
Okay.
It's sort of like, you're not going to get manna anymore. Collect some of it, and that must have been like supernaturally preserved because all the other manna only lasted overnight.
Mm.
And so they put a bowl of this manna in the Ark of the Covenant to remind them of God's provision. And I think there's value to some of those signs and symbols and the ritual around these things to remind us that God provides for us.
Mm.
One thing I was thinking of, because in verse 28 of Exodus 16, the Lord said to Moses, "How long do you refuse to keep my commandments and my laws?" I feel like there's an expectation that they know, or God expects them, that they know his commandments and laws already. So I feel like there's already a setup of like 10 commandments or what God expects of them, probably handed down generational. Yeah, because like with and the last verse, give ear to his commandments and keep his statutes, and it's still like going back every time they disobey him. It's like, keep my commandments. Is there anything that is stated besides, or like that they do have commandments and laws, the Israelite people beforehand?
Oh, I mean, well, the Sabbath is kind of easy because you
Genesis.
obviously, Genesis, there's the record of it being kept there. I think a number of the other commandments you can see being kept in practice, but not necessarily codified. So maybe, but it doesn't say specifically. So.
Yeah. And it says specifically, do you refuse to keep my commandments and my laws? So
Maybe it's
even if they didn't have a full revelation of the law, they had an understanding of it, but God likely revealed that to Moses in the preparation for the Exodus. So I don't know, because we see Moses failing to keep some of the traditional laws with his sons, and that leads to a little bit of shenanigans as well. So yeah,
I don't think I've ever heard of circumcision being referred to as shenanigans.
Well, he almost died. So.
yeah, true. Actually, that story's weird. Anyway,
it's a weird story.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm just hypothesizing here, and it could just be, reading into it instead of reading out of it. But it almost seems like God's revealed to Moses at some point the law, and he's saying, "Why aren't you?" And then by a greater extent, being the leader, why aren't you and the people keeping this?
Yeah. Just going back to what I was saying before about the manna being kept in the ark as a reminder. Would you say, like, are there any things like that in your life that you do or keep or think about? Like, do you have any reminders about the way God has provided for you? Like, or not even just that, but like just generally, are there any systems that you put in your life to help you remember those sort of things? I just feel like it's not something that we do that often anymore, and so I'm just curious if you guys have any.
I know for me, like, there's an automatic response when I see an emergency vehicle go past. Say a small prayer for protection for them and the people, and not necessarily that it's like they've truly saved me in a situation that I know of, but it's just something that's always there. It's like instant reminder when they go past. It's like, ooh, have a quick prayer.
Yeah.
If that's something similar to. That.
Yeah, it's something that's always a trigger for you. Yeah. I have. I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but I have in my Bible somewhere as a bookmark.
We're looking for the photos.
Hey, no, Oh man, I've just rubbed because I was cutting onions before, and I've just touched my eye. And so if you guys are wondering why my eye is
I thought you were
on
just
like
getting tired.
yeah, he's running my eyes going off like an absolute garden hose right now, then that is why. Because then it's stinging, and so I rub it, and every time
Gets
I,
worse.
Yeah, it's
Man.
so I'm in a
in a
vicious
bind.
cycle right now. So yeah, so this is not so emotional that I just can't hack it. Like this is actually just a physiological thing going on right now. Somewhere in my Bible, which I am blanking on finding right now, even though I'm flipping through the pages, is a piece of grass, like a grass seed, and I always look at that and I keep that as a reminder because back in 2014, maybe very early 2015 or late 2014. Sarah and I were there was a property that we loved. It was beautiful. We didn't have enough money to get it, and we would go like just because we could. It was on sale for a really long time, and it was in an area where like there was hardly any houses, and so there was like multiple blocks of land with nothing on them. So there was like no one there to watch you, right? And so we would just go there, and we would just go and check out this place on the regular. Just be like, oh man, we'd love to own this place. It was like no house. It was just land. We thought we'd love to own this and build something on it. We really wanted to do that. And we were praying about it, like, hey, God, like, help us to do this, and like we were trying to figure out how to make it happen. And one day when we were there, the grass that was near the fence had grown up these long grass seed sticks, and so I pulled one of them off. And as we were standing there, I got back in the car and I was still holding it. And I thought, oh, yeah. And when I got back home, it was still in the car. And I thought, oh, yeah. And so I just picked it up, walked it inside. My Bible was on the bench. And so I opened my Bible and I just flattened it between the pages. And I'm like I'll have that as my reminder to keep praying about this thing. And I kept praying about it. And then we never got any more money. And one day I went there and someone had bought it. And I was like, and it was so disappointing. 6 months later, we moved to Bundaberg, and like life completely was different. And we were making friends that we never had before. We were like, just life was so much better. And every time I returned to that page of my Bible, I'd be like, yeah, God, like you knew that was not the right move for us. Like that was just not the thing at all. And so every time I see that, like I keep that as my reminder that the things that I think I want, that doesn't always mean that's what's best, because I'm so grateful for what actually happened instead. And so, yeah, I've got a few things like that, but that's like one that sticks out in my mind as something that I use. That's one of my bowls of manna.
Yeah,
So
that's cool.
Yeah. Well, anything else in particular from that story? Like even like thinking specifically around application, like how do some of these principles show up now? Oh, by the way, I just realized that's the part of the bowl of manna, verse 33. And Moses said to Aaron, take a pot and put an omer of manna in it and lay it up before the Lord to be kept for your generations, as the Lord commanded Moses. So Aaron laid up it before the testimony to be kept.
But they didn't have the tabernacle yet.
True.
What? I'm confused. Where was he putting it? Because I know they had some sort of tent because Moses went into the tent and then.
But has that happened yet? That hasn't happened yet.
No, but I thought there was still a meeting place, wasn't there? Or I don't know. Like I know they haven't built the tabernacle yet.
Unless this is speaking like, because I don't imagine he wrote this. That was a rough day. I'm going to go home and I'm going to write this down in the journal. Like this was written,
or it could even be like one of those like
a later edition.
Yeah, like an edit. Like it happened around.
Yeah,
because it would have been like a period of weeks between here and getting all of those instructions. So
yeah. So he would have been writing this, I imagine, closer to the end of his life.
Yeah.
And so he's writing, with this 40 years in the.
It just fits for context here instead of like some random add-on.
Yeah, because that's where it ended up, not necessarily where it was at the time. I don't know, but yeah, it's a good question because I didn't notice that before.
Well, Paul uses this in Corinthians. He's saying about the Israelites. Might just go back to the beginning of the chapter. Might be easier. Yeah, that's right. I do not want you to be unaware that all our fathers were under the cloud, so not under a bad cloud, under the good cloud. All passed through the sea, all were baptized into Moses in the cloud and in the sea. All ate of the same spiritual food, and all drank of the same spiritual drink. For they drank of the spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ. But with most of them God was not well pleased, for their bodies were scattered in the wilderness. Now these things became our examples to the intent that we should not lust after evil things as they also lusted. So he's obviously talking about idolatry and just general worldliness, but like that was one of the biggest recurring complaints to the Israelites. Has God brought us out here into the wilderness to die?
Yeah.
Oh, if we were in Egypt where we would have full bellies and the meat pot and yeah. So I don't know. I think for us it's even though it may seem like a wilderness and that, we may seem to be being led into the unknown, that God is providing for us, and that looking back at everything that we've left, thinking that it was better, will only end in disaster.
Yeah, I think that's very true. I something that I don't like, but I feel is accurate nonetheless, is that God promised us that he would lead us and that he would save us. He didn't promise us that we'd be comfortable. And I think sometimes we get those things mixed up where, we don't have to be comfortable. Like just because you're a Christian, it doesn't mean that you have the right to that. And I think sometimes we act like it's God's responsibility to make us comfortable, right? Cool. Well, the only other thing that I wanted to speak out of this section anyway is that in addition to God providing for our needs, he also cares about he's resurrecting Sabbath, right? And I know we talked about this a little bit before, but that gift of rest, I think, it's so foundational to getting out of the idea of a works-based experience, right? Works-based theology. Like in their entire experience in Egypt as slaves, the only value a slave has is in how many more years of hard labor they can do for you. So I think it's really interesting that one of the first ways that God hits back at that is by giving them a specific chunk of time that they can relax, that they can stop, that they can turn off. And I think that's a very interesting choice that God made for something to restore their dignity as a people. So. Well, there's always more that we could go and could do. But before we do wrap up for at least this episode, is there anything else that you guys wanted to say, do, ask, or otherwise?
Really?
No, not really. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's leave that one there. Before we do wrap up, I just wanted to remind you guys, if you have any, if you have a small group that you're a part of, you're out there as a part of our table tribe, we would love to hear from you guys. Send a selfie or a video. Let us know about you guys. We'd love to share on the show because I know there's a lot of you out there, and I hear from you sometimes via the social media accounts. And so if you guys would like to be featured on the show, get a shout out, please do that. Until next week, hope you have a great time and God bless.